All right. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're residing in the world right now. Good to see everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Everyone's having a good start to the week. Um, in this today's session, we're just going to go over kind of the usual, give you guys my thoughts and analysis on what's going on, what could be happening. And, the beautiful part about these sessions is that you guys can come in, ask me any questions you might have regarding, ABC's trading in general, or just my thoughts on certain things. I'll be more than willing to definitely help out as much as I can during today's session. So, guys, please feel free to ask any questions you might have. So, without further ado, usually, we're gonna start off with BTC and the usual BTC, ETH, LTC. We'll look at a couple altcoins as well. Give you guys my thoughts on what's going on at the moment, and then we'll switch over to traditional assets, look over stuff like the S&P, DXY, stuff that um, is kind of relevant to what's going on and how we trade crypto here. But yeah, like I said, guys, during the entire process or throughout the process of today's stream, please feel free to ask any questions you might have. I'm going to do my best to keep an eye out on chat here, as well as the chat on the not Discord, on the Twitch end and YouTube end. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. So, first things first, if you guys know me, if you guys have been around or seen these streams in the past, what I usually do is I like to kind of start out with the larger perspective, macro perspective, and kind of see what is going on and try to see if I can piece together either a main scenario, a couple different scenarios, and see what could be leading up, or what could be what price could be working on. So the first things first. We're going to be focusing on the entirety of the bear market, what's been going on over the past year and a half. Wow, it was a year and a half, about a year. And to me, this looks like a much clearer A, B to a C. And within each one of these waves, you have your own subset of ABCs. Something we love to see here when we're looking at ABC structures is completed setups within each individual larger subwave. Um, from there, we can go ahead and mark out the more important pivots. For me, I'm going to be focusing on the ABC within the C. And as of now, long as BTC is above 17,600, things are looking pretty good. This structure shows that it's more than not more likely complete. And from there, what I do from there is I kind of, once I establish what is or what has been done, I'll erase what I got going on, but I'll keep my eye out, or I'll mark out the main pivot that we just marked out before, just to keep that into consideration. But the next question is, once we established a completed structure, in this case, we did have a completed move to the upside, or a larger move to the upside. This kind of does confirm a little bit of a bullish bias. From there, it's my job and your guys' job as guys who do play ABCs is, trying to figure out possibilities of what could be happening. The first scenario, which you talked about before, is that everything looks like it's complete. So we do have an A to a B to a C, and things could be ending as a longer term bear market could be ending. That we could be pumping to the upside. Are we starting a bull market, or is this kind of a retesting market? As of right now, it's kind of hard to tell. But as of now, things are looking pretty good. And when it comes to that viewpoint, or that standpoint, the alternative, which to be honest, I'm kind of leaning on this a little bit more. One of the things they talk about is a lot of the times these ABCs make up larger waves. Now, it's important to keep in mind that do not go too far out in perspective. Like, don't try to focus on, multi-year, like, 3 to 5 year cycles. It's kind of hard. Just like playing the smaller time frames is hard. It's kind of hard to see exactly where the I don't even know what you would classify it, but the next step above macro, we're going into multi-year cycles here, and it's kind of hard to dictate exactly what could be happening during those cycles. What we can do as traders, and what we should be focusing on, is focusing on larger parts of price action, but just not going too far in perspective, as well as not going too close in perspective. So, if this is the case to where we're not done, this ABC could be considered one larger A, right? If that is the case, we need a B and a C, right? So a B is going to be some sort of relief rally, and then we're going to be looking at some point. We're going to be looking for an extension downward. Um, if I had to pick between both scenarios, I'm personally leaning more towards this side, just because one, um, I would say going into 2023, I'm not trying to put too much bias into how I think about things, but um, things aren't looking good from a macroeconomic standpoint. I am keeping that in the back of my head just in case things are short lived, or this pump is short lived. Um, I have to keep in mind there's a lot of bad things that could be going on. Things that are going to be affecting traditional asset prices, DXY prices, and that definitely does play a part in how BTC develops. So, in my opinion, based on that alone, I'm not going to sit here and say that we're doomed to go to 10K or BTC is doomed to go to 8K. It's these crazy low levels. My job is to kind of take it one step at a time. Um, and another reason why I'm on this side, or I'm on the fence of this becoming a larger structure, is because if you go back to the previous bull market, it's almost the exact same thing that happened. We had a very extended, looks like a very straight one continuous trend on the upside, a pullback, and then a continuation upwards. Kind of the same thing here. This has been a little bit more developed, but you can view this as one larger trend, a pullback, and another continuation further. I would be a lot more confident in this playing out in the longer term. So just keeping that in mind. Um, I am a little bit bullish, but I don't think I'm going to be perma bull looking for new highs, looking for another bull run to start. I'm kind of viewing this more as a retest / relief rally, and from there, I don't really have target specifically what I'm looking for. I'm looking just for price to show me where it looks like it wants to top out. I will keep in mind resistance areas. We have a pretty major resistance around 25 to 25 ish around there. We have this area of resistance here around like the 26 to what was this 32K. We have that chop around there. We also have the low here, which I will consider as well. So there's a decent amount of resistance to come up to. That's where I'm personally aiming for. I want to see this rally kind of end around like the 30 to 32K region. From there, I'll be looking to try to take shorts on a much larger scale and try to play into the continuation of the downtrend if that is the case. Mind you, when we do this, we try to play both sides of the coin as much as we can, and we try to take advantage of the larger price movement of what's going on, regardless of which direction. So I will be playing both sides. Whether if we do find a continuation set up to where we can continue to ride the wave to the upside, or if we find a larger bearish reversal set up, I will be taking that and trying to short to much lower price levels just in case that is the scenario. So once we establish that, from there, I will go on to our main perspective, what we usually trade on. From there, I'm going to be focusing on the development of this part of price action, just because, going back to what we were talking about before, this is a larger A to a B to a C. All right. And as of now, based on the structure here, we can say that this entire trend has been completed. All right. It took a while for price to get there, but according to this part of the structure, we have to get back above 18,100, which we did, as well as the macro pivot, which I've been keeping an eye on as well, around that 17,600. We are currently holding above there. So for me personally, things are looking good. Like I said, I'm aiming more for more of a relief rally, but based off the breakdown of what is going on in this area of price action, things look pretty much complete. So if that is the case, we have to start focusing on the next area of price action here. Now, mind you, when we were in this region, we talked about how this could be developing. We saw this as an A to a B to a C. All right. And from there, us and some of the people in my group and some of the people here as well were able to get a long entry off of this bottom here, which if you guys did manage to grab this entry, congratulations. We're killing it so far. I believe I had it up before. I think we're up close to like we're close to 1,000% in profit. So let me just double check that. But we're doing pretty good. And I plan on holding that trade until we get a bullish continuation setup, which I'll talk about here in a moment. That's gonna be the next thing I focus on. But yeah, right now we're sitting around like 900% in profit. Um, but until no, we got to compound. We got to compound because I got such a small margin trade. I want to compound it all the way up. Um, so yeah, I'm like, oh god, it's bad. So I love seeing price go up, but the way people react and way people behave when price comes up, it's bad sometimes. Um, but focusing on what's going on once we establish the end of this trend here. To be honest, we had one short position that we were focusing on, which was this position here. Let me go to a 1 hour, give you a little bit better picture. Okay. And we were focusing on this A, B to C here. But as price developed, we did not get a confirmed move back below that line. Price just blew straight through it. And in this case scenario, we just let it happen. If price goes right through the entry of the A and never comes back below, we don't take shorts. We just let it ride. And then from there, we are very extended past the point of the A. So in this case scenario, what I like to do is I want to wait for price to give me another setup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until we see a much larger A to a B to a C. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to happen here. It's just an example of what I'm looking for. I'm not too eager to take shorts yet, just because, like I said, on the larger scale, we could be aiming to aim or push for much higher price regions. Definitely to test some resistances on the way up. But for me personally, I'm not too eager to short yet unless price gives me a nice solid setup to short off of. Um, and like I said, it would look something like this, something on a much larger scale, something I could see on a 1 hour completely zoomed out, where there's a clear separation in trend. As of right now, this chop that's going on right now is not a clear separation. We're kind of just consolidating sideways, in my opinion. I need to see a clear break with a clear retest. And as of right now, we're not there yet. So as of now, I'm currently sitting on the sidelines when it comes to taking shorts. I'm just sitting in longs, letting price do what it do, and hopefully we can continue to catch the momentum. Or in this case, which I want to go over next, is looking to take profit, how I take profit, and how I look for and how I want to take advantage of a continuation in price movement. So, if you guys have been here for a while, or if you guys know what ABCs are, how I trade ABCs, you guys mostly know a lot of the times how we trade things is we're looking for reversals. Okay. That's not always the case, but for a good amount of times how we trade things, how we view the markets, where our positions are trying to catch reversals. For an example, this ABC down here, this long setup that we mentioned before, we still have some short setups that we try taking. Let's see, there's one. We shorted this reversal. All right. And primarily, like I said, we would try to focus on shorting reversals, but how we take profit and also a different part of how we take trades is that we try to play into the continuation of larger trends. All that is to give you a good example is what I didn't necessarily do this at the time, but it's something I have been implementing recently. It was something I should have been doing for a while. I just never really thought about it until the last couple months. But all the continuation method is basically you're finding an initial short setup, something that can possibly trigger a much larger reversal. And in this case, we were looking to short. And then all you're doing is whenever you find another relative ABC that favors the original position that you were in. So in this case, another short. All you're doing is trying to catch continuations of that, and then you're going to be taking profit off the original position and basically re-entering at the next position, and then continuing that over and over again. So once you find another relative sized ABC that's a short setup, and in this case, it wasn't the best take profit, but this is the most confident setup that price is giving us at the moment. So we'd go ahead and take that, and then same thing. You're just looking for relative size or relative perspective, relative time frame, um, short setups. In this case, it's on an 8 hour, it's a much larger scale, but usually we do this on like a 2 hour. We're trying to find significant size short ABCs, and we're just doing that. We're trying to play into the larger trend. And so, we would have got a good amount of positions in. We shorted, I mentioned this short we took down here, and we also took profit and tried taking a short down here. It didn't work out, but we still managed to secure profit and take advantage of that move and basically secure what we had left. Try to play it a little bit, but we didn't. We ended up still walking away net positive. So at the end of the day, we're going to be planning to do the same thing to the upside. What I mean by that is, we're on the 1 to 2 hour. We have a significant long setup here. And I'm not looking for something exactly this size, but if I can get a relative size pullback, something like this on like a 2 hour, that's where we'll be going ahead and taking profit on the long and re-entering, just trying to catch the continuation to the upside. The beautiful part about doing this, or something that I've experienced, something that I noticed, is that one, unfortunately, you're not going to be getting every top and every bottom doing this, but this locks in profits from previous positions, as well as gives you a new place of confidence to take a new trade. Worst case scenario, if the trade doesn't work out, you still walked away with profit and you have to look forward to the next position or look for the next position. But a lot of the times how we do this and how I hope to be playing this is that we can catch continuation setups and try to play into the larger trend as much as we can. So I'm excited for whenever the next long position is. It might take a while before we get there. But yeah, whether it keeps going up or whether we pull back, regardless, in my opinion, how I view things and in the position that I'm in, it doesn't really necessarily matter to me that much, just because of how I view things, how we're looking to play things, and how we're just waiting for price to give us a new opportunity. Right. And that's pretty much it for BTC at the moment. Like I said, things are looking fairly good. There's a good amount of resistances overhead to overcome, but I'm not too worried about these. Like I said, I'm looking for a larger relief rally. I guess in the case if we do reverse, it's got to have to be a significant drop, in my opinion, in order for me to get bearish. But until then, if we get a larger bearish setup, I will be taking a short. But at the moment, we don't currently have that yet. So as of right now, price is looking pretty good. Let's go over to ETH. All right, so for ETH, same thing. What I like to do is I like to look at the larger picture and focus on what is or how is price developing on the larger trend. Now, to me, we have a larger A to a B to a C. This one is a little bit, it's not as clear as BTC, but we do have a good set of waves in between each of these section of the ABC here. Like I guess the C wave's not the cleanest, but this is a completed structure in my opinion. So next question is this completed or is this part of a larger wave? In my opinion, how I'm viewing this, I'm on the same stance, or I'm viewing this the same way as I did for BTC. I personally think that this is part of a larger trend that we're working on. The first yellow wave here is the larger A. We're working either on a B here or coming up for another B here, and then we're going to be continuing lower to another C. This is, of course, on a much larger perspective. This might take the entirety of 2023 to play out. But if that is the case, to me, it looks like we're working on a larger A to a B to a C within the B wave. And then from there, hopefully, if this is the case, we'll be looking for one larger ABC to the downside to complete the C wave. So if this is an ABC, which I mentioned before could be happening, let's go down to a little bit more of a relative time frame and kind of try to pick this apart. So if that is the case, if we're working on a much larger B wave, for me and how this is developing, I need to see a higher high be put in past that 2028. Once that happens, we can get a larger completed setup, in my opinion, and then we'll have to wait and see how price behaves in this region. If ETH just decides to blow right through it and not come back below and continue upward, that's that'll be good for long positions. If that is the case, I'll have to reevaluate and try to catch a different short position of significant size within the C. But if we come up here, have a tough time, coming down and eventually make a move down. This is just a hypothetical, but if we can maintain below that pivot once you get back above, that to me is going to look good for a much larger macro short setup. Um, and I'll be looking at this once we get up to this region. But as of right now, and I'll go ahead and explain why. This looks pretty good as a larger completed setup. I'm ultimately looking for this to happen. I'm looking for ETH to come up, push these higher highs around 2028, and we'll see how price gets to behaving once it gets up to this region. But as of now, that's what I'm primarily looking for. There are some resistances overhead, like it's very similar to how BTC is behaving. But in my opinion, I think the ultimate resistance to that 2028, and I think price is definitely going to be making its way up there. If that isn't the case, and let's say this is just a little relief rally, we can go ahead and talk about the in between of what could be happening with this area price action. Um, so with this pivot of the high being around 20, like it says 2028, 2020, what is it? Yeah, 2029, just to be, I'm just gonna leave this up here, but we're keeping an eye on that macro pivot. What is going on in this area price action? So for me, this is a larger ABC to an A. We have another ABC to a B, and we have a straight C wave. Now we have a direct C wave. We don't have a developed C wave in this case. Unlike BTC, ETH did not put in that lower low. We kind of put in a double bottom. So for me personally, that does not count as a completed ABC. So I have to mark this as the completed C wave. This is going to be a larger B. Like I mentioned before, this shows a larger completed B within the A to a B to a C. So if that is the case, there's two different things that could be happening. Initially, the original direction I'm looking for is I'm just looking for a price to come up and retest that. We could be looking at this in a couple different ways. I am not too keen on focusing on that just because. Oh, wait, hold on, I actually got to bring those back before I go to that point. We do have a completed ABC within the A. So for me, the long entry, which is the entry I have taken, is going to be at 1178, and I continue to hold that. Like I said, I'm holding it up here. I'm waiting for another continuation setup. If we can get something that's pretty decent in size, it doesn't necessarily have to happen right now. But if I can get a clear separation and trend with a good pullback, I'll go ahead and take the position here and close out this position down here and try to catch the continuation upward. Doesn't necessarily, like I said, doesn't necessarily have to happen here. It can happen anywhere up in this uptrend if we do decide to continue upward. But just in general, that's just kind of a reference point, what I'm looking for when it comes to taking profit and re-entering the trade. But going back into what I was saying before, if this isn't going to be a push to the high, we can take a look at this and see if we can come up with something. For me personally, actually, let me get rid of this so I don't confuse you guys. This looks like an A to a B to a C. Now, this is not the cleanest, in my opinion, at all. But as long as the B doesn't cross below the 0, that is a valid B wave. In this case, we did not cross below. So this is an A to a B to a C. And then we have an ABC within the C wave. All right. So in my opinion, how I view things, what I'm looking for, if price cannot get back to those highs that I mentioned before, I'm looking ultimately for a cross back below 1351. We are a little bit past beyond that point. And I will take a available short position if we can get a larger setup up in this upper range. If we can't, depending how this behaves, I will take that 1351 entry, but that's kind of in the air right now. I kind of have to wait and see how price develops, but that is a scenario as well. If price does fail to get back above that previous high, we can go back to the larger time frame, consider this a larger B, and ultimately look for a larger extension to the downside. But even though I'm aware this could be happening, I'm still on the fence that we're going to be pushing up to those higher highs. But keep the structure in mind in case I am wrong, which I'm not always right. I'm not how to say this? I'm not always right, but when I am right, it's pretty significant. So, um, we'll just see how this works and how this develops. But keep your options open. But those are the two main scenarios I'm looking for ETH. And as of right now, there's really no serious positions that I'm looking to take. Besides, I marked out that short as well as I'm in a long position from that 1178 region. So as long as we maintain above that, we continue higher, things are looking good in my opinion. Um, let's go ahead and move over to Litecoin. Litecoin is in a different scenario compared to BTC and ETH. Um, so for LTC, same sort of scenario. I'm looking for off of the larger structure to see how we're developing. In my opinion, this could be considered a larger A to a B to a C. Now, this is a little bit different. As of right now, the C is at the bottom here, but it looks like to me that this could be a larger A, B to a C within the C. So the C leg can actually be extended to here. Um, this looks a lot better for me as an ABC or a larger ABC for LTC. Doesn't necessarily have to happen. Um, if that is the case, I'm looking for a lower low to be put in past this low, the low here on 40, 43, 40, 45 around there. If that is the case, if we do come back down, I'm ultimately looking for that level to be broken. If that level does not, if that level is not broken and we can just say we continue upward, or if we continue to range bound and then put that lower low, I will go back and consider this a completed structure. Right now, piggybacking off that idea that I mentioned before, um, if this is going to be a larger B, we have an A to a B to a C here, a larger B and an extended C. And then within the C wave, we actually have a larger ABC within the C. Now, I'm currently shorting this. This is the only short play that I'm in right now. Um, we did wick back below this low here. I am not the most confident in this just because of how BTC and ETH is developing. Price action is looking pretty good, but as ETH and BTC have been pumping, LTC has not been moving that much. So, the question is, could this be a leading indicator or leading factor that we might be topping out here soon? Or is LTC just having a tough time breaking through this area just because of the structure that it's in? It really depends. I really don't know the answer to that. The best thing I can say is that I do have my opportunities, my options that I'm weighing. I'm looking at the possible trade setups, and I'm going to take them as they come. As of right now, we do have that larger ABC short position, and that's pretty much the only shorts I'm looking to play. Like I said, even though I'm not confident in this working out, I still have to play it just in case I am wrong. So ultimately, that's pretty much it for LTC. I do not have any um, bullish setups or any long positions on LTC that are available, in my opinion. Um, LTC hasn't developed in the best way, in my opinion. So I'm kind of on the sidelines when it comes to buying LTC or taking any long positions. Um, that short setup's pretty much the only thing I'm looking for LTC. Um, Let's go ahead. I know BNB is a favorite here, so I'll take a look at BNB. Does anybody else have anything else you want me to look at besides BNB? I'll let you guys think about that while I'm doing this. So same thing when it comes to BNB. This structure is a lot different than what we were looking at between LTC and ETH and BTC. We have a larger A to a B to a C. Ultimately, that is the larger pivot, or this is the larger pivot here. So this could be considered a completed setup. Um, Me personally, based on what I've seen, I think this is going to be a part of a larger ABC within the C, something like this. If we haven't topped out here, we can definitely make an argument to put in one more high. All right, and I'll show you why here in a moment. For me, and how I see this, this looks like a much larger A, B, C to an A. We have an A, B, C to a C. and we definitely can come up and put in one more high. To me, that looks pretty good for a short setup. Um, but price can easily come up and just push straight through. We don't necessarily have to put in that larger structure, and we could have been bottomed out, or BNB could have bottomed out back in that 210 region. But going back to what I said, that's the next available larger setup I'm looking for BNB. If it wants to reverse in the, I guess, medium time frame, medium to longer time frame, kind of lining up with how BTC, ETH, and LTC could be lining up as a relief rally, or at least for BTC and ETH, and where we could be reversing off of the much larger setup. I'm keeping that in mind, keeping that in consideration. But right now for BNB, that's pretty much the larger setup. You guys, for me, if I was playing this, I would have been long off of that 249.60, and that would have been set up to at least carry us to that $400 region. So that's pretty much it for BNB. Does anybody else have anything you want me to look at? Keep an eye on chat. Uh, okay, looks like anybody else got nothing for me? All right, I'll pick something else out then. Let's do ADA. So for Cardano ADA, oh yeah, that's definitely a runner. Um, ADA has been doing good recently off of the larger time frame perspective. To me, it's a little bit tough because this to me looks like one large continuous trend. You do have an ABC within here, within this section of price action. Um, but me personally, it's kind of hard to dissect this accurately. But one thing I will say is I am going to be focusing on this part of price action within the C wave. Okay. Going down to this area here, once we established our C wave, I'm going to be looking at this as a larger A to a B to a C. And this pivot actually lines up at the low here. Yeah. So ultimately, the 40 cent region is the macro pivot for ADA to get back above. I actually did buy some spot ADA back here. And I'm probably plan on sprinkling a little bit more once we get back above. But keeping an eye on that. That's the macro, the major pivot I'm looking for. If I go down a little bit more of a smaller time frame, there's some of you guys have caught some trades on this. One of the ones being this setup here. For me, this is a little bit too small, in my opinion. I wouldn't have personally taken this, but that would have been the trade to take if you're looking to catch the swing higher, and you guys would be sitting in pretty good spots. So if you guys are in a trade, if you guys traded, if you guys took that ABC position and are riding the wave up, my only thing I would say is just wait, let it develop. You're looking for a clear break of structure with its own ABC to the downside, or at least a pullback structure, and then try to take profit and play the continuation off that. So that's just my thing. If you guys are currently long on AEA, if you did take an ABC setup, it got back above the macro pivot of this structure here. So in my opinion, things are looking pretty good. Um, yeah, actually, I would consider this more actually of the macro. My apologies. That's the ABC within this wave here. Yeah, this looks a lot better from an ABC perspective. A to a B to a C. But even still, keeping that in mind, we're still in that region, but we're still above. So if we can maintain above that, fantastic. But as of right now, ADA is looking pretty good. Especially if you guys have been taking that long position. All right. So, all right, keeping that in mind, you guys understand the plan of how I'm viewing things when it comes to playing BTC, ETH, LTC, all the major or the larger cap coins. Let's move on to traditional markets just because there's a couple things I want to touch on. First thing being the SPY. Now, I mentioned this in the past. One of the things ultimately I'm looking for a larger reversal when it comes to the S&P is, yes, we do have this larger ABC, which I marked out in like this dark orange within the blue, within this group of blue waves here. That is going to be a larger pivot based off of that 362. Um, as long as we're above that, we're looking good. One of the things I did mention is that if the S&P wants to reverse, I need to see a larger break in trend and a larger separation and have it form its own A to a B to a C. Now that we gave it some time, ultimately, that's what I'm looking for. This looks very good for a bearish setup if you guys are looking to be bearish on traditional markets. I like this a lot as an ABC, and this to me is going to connect a much larger. Let me go ahead and illustrate this. This is going to connect a larger A to a B to a continuation downward for a C. I like I said, I would need to see a clear break in trend. Um, so for me, as long as the S&P can continue to rally and get back above 410. And if we don't maintain above that and we just continue to push higher, fantastic. But if we get back above and we can't hold that level and we consistently stay below, that's not looking good in my opinion. So keeping that in mind, that's the main idea I have for the S&P at the moment. Um, but until we get the higher high, things are looking pretty good from a macro perspective. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones. All right, Dow Jones is interesting. Very similar to the S&P, just developed a little bit differently. We have an A, B, C to an A. Now we have a larger A to a B to a C for a B. And ultimately, I'm looking for, if we do put in a higher high in reverse, we can't hold above that pivot. So that about like 34, 370, 735. And then I'm looking for a larger push, something like that to the downside. Um, but yeah, pretty much the same thing. Let's go over the DXY just because uh, this is something I do want to go over just to highlight, as well as obviously you guys know, if you guys know the DXY, there's definitely some inverse correlation when it comes to how the DXY plays out against assets. So I always want to show you how I'm viewing the macro structure of the DXY. So as of now, the DXY shows a larger A, do an A, B, C, B, and then we're working on a much larger A to a B to a C to complete the C. Now, the macro pivot for that is going to be about 103.80, 103.95 around there. So as long as we can stay below that, which you can see on, it's kind of hard to see from this perspective, but we are currently sitting below that. I'll go ahead and zoom in. We are currently sitting significantly, well, not significantly, but a good amount below that. And as long as we are below 103, the DXY does not look good. Definitely has room to keep dumping. The one thing I will keep in mind on the way down is that there are certain levels of supports, but I'm not too concerned with that, in my opinion. If it fails to get back up, if it fails to hold above 101, the next step for me, from a local low perspective, that's significant to be 94 and then 93. So I'm going to keep those levels of support in mind. But as of right now, the macro structure, the macro pivot for the DXY is about that 103.86. As long as we maintain below that, it doesn't look good for the dollar as well as it looks good for assets in general. So I'm excited. We'll see how this plays out in the future, but just keeping those levels in mind from a traditional market, also from a crypto perspective, this looks pretty good. Let's take a look at gold. All right, gold has been moving here. All right, so for gold, this is something I try to touch on, just letting you guys know. We do have a much larger multi-decade ABC going on here. The problem with this is that, there's, what is this? How long is from 2011 to now? Or actually, well, I have to count the peak here, 2020. So almost a 10-year difference between between the A and the C. You got to keep in mind that the level is valid, but since it's such a large separation between the two, what I like to say is that you got to give it some room, some wiggle room. Um, I don't. It does happen from occasion, but it's hard for me to believe. Hard to me from what I've seen. It's hard for me to say that price will um respect a level exactly when the separation between the two pivots are multi years. In this case, almost a decade apart. So for me, I'm keeping this level in mind, but it's more of like a zone to me. It's more of like a region, something like this. All right. I'm not approaching this as a direct level. So keeping that in mind, I would need to see a significant break below this pivot of the A in order for me to confirm a more bearish move. Um, but as of now, let me show you what I'm seeing on a little bit more of a zoomed in perspective. All right, keeping that in mind, I also want to show you guys what's going on from this ABC here. So we have an A based off an A to a B and a very extended C. We have an A to a B to a C here. And it looks like we're coming up and putting in a higher high. All right, I'll show you guys the ABC within the B wave. This looks pretty healthy in my opinion. The position to hold for gold, if you guys were looking to get in, was around 1677. So as long as we're above that, it looks like we're gonna be pushing up here to put in a new high past the pivot of this A at around 2076. So if we get back above 2076, that's going to complete this much larger ABC here. Then I'd be a little bit more bearish on gold. I'd be looking to. I personally don't hold any. But if you were holding gold, I would be a little bit more cautious once you get up to this region here. Um, so for me, that's the main idea I'm looking for. The main pivots for gold. Just keeping an eye out to see if we put a higher high past that 2080. If that is the case, we put in a higher high and get back below. Things do look bearish from an ABC perspective. And yeah, that's primarily what I'm looking for when it comes to gold. Let's take a look at silver. Silver is developing a little kind of similarly, but a little bit different. Same thing when it comes to silver. You have a ABC that's the pivots between or the distance between the two pivots from the A and the C is about from 1980. So I wasn't even alive when the A was put in. So you're keeping that in mind. You gotta give some wriggle room when it comes to these levels. It's not an exact level. It's more of like a zone. So to me, it's gonna need a little bit more breathing room. Um I try not to look at it as an exact level, just from my perspective, in my opinion, how I view things. Um, Keeping that in mind, we're going to be focusing on the. Actually, I might have to stick to it today. Yeah. So we're going to keep an eye on this section of price action here. If that is the case, this to me looks like a larger A to a B to a C. All right, that completes a larger A wave. Or if you want to look at this from another perspective as well, this could be a B wave from a larger ABC here. So a couple different variations of what could be going on. We do have a larger A, we put in a larger B, we're looking for a larger C, right? In order for this to play out and complete, I need to get a higher high past that $50.22, $50.23 range. Right. So let me just get rid of that and mark that out as a larger pivot. All right. What also could be happening is we could be doing something like this. So we put in an A, where we either put in a B or we're working on a larger B, and then we're looking for a continuation for a C. Right. If that is the case, I need to see a larger ABC put. Or sorry, no, I need to put an AD. Excuse me. I need to put in an ABC, or I need to see an ABC within this larger B wave. Right. If that is the case, the pivot for that short setup is going to be around 30.13 and a half. I will mark that out for you guys. But if she decides to just blow right past it and continue upward, the next pivot is going to be at that 50.22. So just keeping that in mind. That's what I would be looking for personally. So keep as well as if BTC. Oh, sorry, I keep saying BTC. I wanted to say BTC. If silver puts in that bearish setup and we do come back down, I would need a pivot of 1164 to be broken to show a potential bullish setup before coming back above and finishing up that next leg higher. So keeping that in mind, all right, once I go over the possibilities, we can mark out the levels that matter, right? So ultimately, we can put in a higher high. It still come down to this low of 1164 before ultimately putting in that higher high at 50, what does that say? 5022, right? If we put in a high without coming back lower, I can go ahead and erase this setup off the table. That's going back to what I said before, where this is a much larger completed structure, something like this. But pretty much ultimately, I gave you guys what I'm looking for, how it could be developing in between. But those are the main pivots that I marked out before that I want you guys to keep an eye out on as silver is developing. If you guys are interested in silver. All right. We'll do. I want to see how Tesla looks real quick. All right, so Tesla, from an ABC perspective, it's not in a good position. I need to see a clear separation. We do have an ABC here, but the C wave is so extended. I would need to see a separate ABC within the C in order to consider taking a position on Tesla. That's just my opinion. Um, but from a local low and support standpoint, it looks pretty good based off of kind of dancing around these local lows in this region. But we'll see how that develops, and we'll see how it holds. Let's see. I want to look at Apple as well, just because there you go. Perfect. So off of Apple, I mentioned this in previous, and I think might have been last week or 2 weeks ago when I first mentioned this. But we did have a break of a larger ABC, and we did have a break of the low, which completed the structure. And so, in my opinion, this could be developing into a much larger A to a B to a C based off of this setup here. That looks really good. And, my thing is, how often do you guys see a nice, at least in my opinion, based off of what I've seen, um, how often do you guys see a larger completed ABC on Apple? So for me, I bought a share at around $1.30. I didn't get the exact bottom or the exact entry, the best entry, but I bought it at $1.30, and I'm pretty much planning on holding that forever, just to have some stake, just have a little bit of something in Apple. But that's the main pivot for Apple. You guys are looking to stay above, and then we'll do Vlad's favorite here, BMW. um, so pretty much this looks like a much larger A to a B to a C, and as you can see, we got an extended rally. So one of these things that um I wouldn't say similar, but it looks pretty. It looks good. um. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. From that perspective, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Um. Yeah. That's funny. But going back to what I was saying before, ultimately I was looking for a lower low past this pivot here to complete this ABC, but in this case, it did not happen. It doesn't have to happen. The alternative that I was looking for was an ABC here. And I was looking for a BMW to get back below. We kind of danced in that region, but we eventually pushed through it. That was going to complete a larger ABC of this magnitude. but this wasn't the case. It still could be the case. I'm gonna keep that pivot marked out. But it looks like it's gonna come up and test the high here. So if that is the case, this is going to be the completed structure. I need BMW to get back above what is that $100 10 cent region. Actually, no, yeah, 122 $100 and 22 cent region in order for me to be a little bearish on BMW. But as of right now, it looks pretty good. I would just keep an eye on that pivot there. And if we do not get back above, you do have the pivot here at 84, 86. So those are the two main levels I'll be looking to take shorts off of if I was looking to short BMW. Um, if we do not put in a higher high, we have the availability of this low being put in. We could have something like this developing. All right. That's only if we don't put in a higher high. If we do put in a higher high, I have to delete these two off the chart here, take that option off the table and just focus on the larger ABC. But besides that, that's pretty much it. In case you guys have any questions regarding ABC's trading or anything that I took a look at today, please let me know. I'm just gonna keep an eye pop in the chat real quick. Let's see. Let me just keep an eye on the YouTube. I think I'm all caught up. All right, cool. If anyone's like I said, if anyone's has any questions before I wrap things up here, please feel free to ask. Thank you, David. I do appreciate it. we got your fixing, Vlad. Exactly. Yeah, let's just focus on that. No Mike for Great Stream Johnny. Thank you so much, David. Looking forward to adding Trigger Trade in your bot. Yes, I'm looking forward to getting all that together as well. I'll touch base with William to see how that's going. I have to talk to him after this stream anyway. But yeah, I think everything's all good based on what you said yesterday. If it's all ready to go, I'll go ahead and then just test it, make sure everything's good. All right, sounds good, David. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I'll catch you guys next week. If you guys have any questions, if you guys are in David's Discord, I am active there. So if you guys have any questions when something else comes up, please feel free to tag me with a question, as well as my DMs are open. So if you have any questions regarding ABCs or if you want me to look at something, please feel free to reach out to me. I will leave my Discord in the comment section. I am. Like I said, there's my Discord. So if you guys are interested, please feel free. Or if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me if you have anything, questions regarding ABC setups, or if you need something to double check on. I really do appreciate you guys, and I look forward to see you guys on the next one.